As a kid, almost everything scared the hell out of you. Whether it be the darkness, the boogeyman, or food touching your mashed potatoes on the same plate, because for some reason that just gives a lot of ick to a lot of people, and I'm pretty sure that was me at one point too. But maybe it was some other fear, like the scary guy on the oatmeal box, Chucky, or growing up in a Latino household like myself and being afraid of La Llorona and El Cucuy. Lots of different things scared us as a child, and we look back now at it as an adult thinking, why were we really afraid of these things? Or perhaps you're probably still afraid of these things as an adult, which is totally understandable too, and might end up being a reason for some of us having trauma on certain things. Could be. My name is Gribbs, and today I'll be diving into some of my personal childhood fears that I had as a child, and who knows, we might have similar taste in fear, if that even makes sense, having similar taste in fear, you know? Who knows? What might be scary to you might be funny to me, and what might be funny to me might be scary to you. I think that's what I meant, right? The Super Nintendo was my very first video game console that I ever technically owned before I got gifted my very own PlayStation 1 for Christmas. The only games I had for the Super Nintendo or the SNES were The Lion King, which if you know anything about that game, you know which level I would immediately get stuck on. Jurassic Park, which is a little bit terrifying with the raptor noises and the dinosaur stampede coming at you. And my personal favorite of all time, Super Mario All-Stars. So many different versions of Super Mario Brothers on one cartridge that was officially brought by Nintendo and not a 286 in one cart like we do nowadays. I'd spend most of my time playing Super Mario World though. It was the only Mario game at the time I could get very far without having my older sister pass the difficult or scary parts for me. Immediately on the second level of Yoshi's Island came the most frightful, fearful, gut-wrenching enemy I have encountered as a child up until then, Chargin' Chuck. This little mother, the noise he made when he was charging at me, or the fact that he wanted me dead and would not stop anything in his tracks from attacking me, nor blocks could stop Chargin' Chuck, but we'll get more on that later. He just wanted me dead. He made me so nervous to even try to stomp on him from existence because he was too damn fast, and that charging noise shook me as a child. Anytime I was replaying that level, I vividly remember just turning the volume down so low on the TV I could barely hear his footsteps charging at me. That was the only way I could get past him without having an anxiety attack of him charging at me and not having to think about the music at all. The later levels did not help at all, with him having different powers from the first one. One of these powers being he'll multiply into 3 Chucks. 3 Chucks! The other one is throwing baseballs or footballs, but the most scary mother of them all is the one when you are behind a bunch of blocks and he just charges at you, breaking these blocks. Terrifying. He low-key still gives me the creeps, but just that sound still haunts me while playing Super Mario World. When I say raunchy, edgy animated series in the 90s, what comes to mind? Definitely not talking about The Simpsons. Nope, not even South Park, but you're getting close there. I'm talking about Beavis and Butthead. Yes, the Beavis and Butthead. Now, maybe it was just the animation, maybe it was just the style that they were drawing in, but something about Beavis and Butthead just disturbed my little child brain that made me just so fearful of them. The only animated series I knew I wasn't allowed to watch a lot of was The Simpsons, but after a point, my parents stopped giving a damn and let me watch it, even though it wasn't as disturbing as Beavis and Butthead or as raunchy and very shock value as South Park. My older sister at the time would always be tuning into MTV, watching the videos, watching The Real World, watching TRL, but just something about Beavis and Butthead didn't sit right with me when she would sit down and watch it. The designs for them were just scary as hell and just something I wasn't yet comfortable with at the time, I guess. Even just the intro with the laughing music just made my skin crawl so much, and I hated every second that my sister was watching it. I would go to another room because I didn't want to watch it. At one point, I had some spooky nightmares about Beavis and Butthead coming into my dream with their scary designs and their laughs. Those designs were terrifying for me. What's your favorite scary movie icon? Most people nowadays would probably say Ghostface, and they wouldn't be wrong due to the popularity of the character getting more exposure on the internet and seeing more and more people cosplay of Ghostface, playing him on Dead by Daylight, or making TikTok thirst traps with Ghostface masks. Yeah, you know which ones I'm talking about. But back before we got any of the sequels or requels, we just had the one movie, Scream. It was the fall of 1997, and Scream had popped off on home video, meaning that there was a high demand for Ghostface masks and costumes that Halloween. And eventually sequels too, a lot more. Some were really good, and some were alright. My older sister at the time wanted one of those costumes. She wanted to be Ghostface for Halloween that year. And what costume did I choose that year? Pikachu. I couldn't stand looking at my sister wear the Ghostface costume and the mask even. It was just too terrifying for me at the time to just really process. It was just more of this person is in my house. I'm terrified. Where is my older sister? But I really wouldn't say that I was scared. I would just be along the lines of telling my mother that my stomach hurt. I was just trying to be a brave little boy who wasn't scared of anything. At the time, I wasn't even old enough to even watch those movies or knew anything besides scary mask, scary costume, and a freaking knife. Yeah, a knife. Well, plastic knife, but still, as a child, you know, I couldn't tell the difference. Ironically, later in life, I ended up getting a Ghostface tattoo on me because of how much I love the character, how much I love the movies, and how much of a big impact the movies have made in my life. I found it funny how the things as a child scared us eventually turn into the things we later love and have a passion for as adults. Looking back while writing this script, this made me realize they weren't as scary as they seem. Super Mario World, hands down, one of my favorite Mario games of all time. I usually speed run through it because of the amount of times of replay I've had playing that game, the amount of times of secrets and unlockables I discovered online, just the amount of joy that game brings me now. Just made me love the game even more itself. Beavis and Butthead are some of my favorite animated duos next to Shaggy and Scooby, Pinky and the Brain, Tom and Jerry, obviously. Beavis and Butthead Do America ended up being one of my favorite comfort movies to watch. Mike Judge eventually wrote King of the Hill, aka the best Texas anime ever written. Also one of my favorite comfort shows to put on too. Go watch Idiocracy and Office Space. Those are peak comedy movies of all time, and the amount of level range that Mike Judge has put me on of his fan for all his work in films. Like I said earlier, I ended up getting a Ghostface tattooed on me because of the legacy Wes Craven created with the movies. How he reinvented the modern horror slasher. The nods and settings in the movies he made found a new appreciation for Ghostface and horror in general. What scared me before now just fascinates me and intrigues me. There was more childhood fears I could have added, but I'll save those for a future video. I just found it funny, like I said, overall, how I eventually ended up loving all these things, or how all these little fears I had as a child just became so small or minor, or just became a big impact in my life. And with that being said, what scared you in your childhood? Was it silly, or was it downright generally scary? Let me know down below. Don't forget to follow me on Twitch, join the Discord, follow me on TikTok and Twitter. Till next time, I'm out of here. Peace.